Picture this, you're driving to work on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, feeling pretty good about life. Bills are paid, credit score is solid, you've got money in your checking account. And then you hear it, that sound, you know the one. That grinding, clunking, absolutely not supposed to be there sound, coming from under your hood. Your stomach drops, not because you don't know what it is, but because you know exactly what it means. $700 you don't have, maybe $1,000. Maybe more, and here's the uncomfortable part. On paper, you're doing fine. You make 50, 60, maybe 70,000 a year. You're not broke, you pay your rent, you pay your car payment. You even have a credit card with a $5,000 limit that's mostly paid off. But in this moment, sitting in your car listening to that sound, you feel absolutely broke, and you're not alone, not even close. My name is Max, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden financial fragility of the average American when small expenses expose a lack of real liquidity, even among people who pay every bill on time, have good credit, and stable income. If you're someone who's living with the constant feeling that you're doing fine financially on paper, good income, good credit, bills paid on time, while knowing deep down that any small surprise like a car repair could turn into a real crisis, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because what we're going to talk about today isn't about poor people. It's not about minimum wage workers or people who are quote-unquote bad with money. This is about the invisible financial tightrope that millions of Americans walk every single day. People who look successful, people who would pass a credit check. People who, if you looked at their tax return, you'd think they're doing just fine. And yet, a single car repair, a single unexpected expense of $800 sends them into a tailspin. Here's the thing. According to a Federal Reserve study from 2023, 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense with cash or savings. 40%, that's not $400,000. That's $400, less than a car repair, less than a broken water heater, less than a root canal. And we're not talking about people making minimum wage. We're talking about households making $50, $60, $70,000 a year. Now look, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Max, come on, if someone makes $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month. How do they not have $400? And that's exactly the question we need to answer. Because the math seems insane, but the reality? The reality makes perfect sense once you understand how most Americans actually live financially. Let me walk you through a real scenario. Let's say you make $60,000 a year. After taxes, you're taking home about $45,000, give or take depending on your state. That's roughly $3,750 a month. Sounds like a lot, right? Now let's do the math that most people don't want to do, rent or mortgage. In most cities, you're paying somewhere between $1,200 and $1,800 a month. Let's call it $1,500. Car payment, $350. That's pretty standard for a newer used car. Car insurance, another $150. Health insurance, if you're paying your own, that's another $300 to $400 easily. Let's say $350. Student loans? The average monthly payment in America is about $300. We're already at $2,650 and we haven't eaten yet. We haven't put gas in the car. We haven't paid for internet, phone, utilities, or bought a single roll of toilet paper. Groceries for one person, $250 to $300 minimum if you're being reasonable. Gas, another $150. Phone, $60. Internet, $70. Utilities? Another $150 depending on the season. We're now at $3,830. You're making $3,750 a month take home. You're already $50 in the hole, and we haven't talked about going out to eat once, buying clothes, getting a haircut, or having any kind of social life whatsoever. This is where it gets interesting. Because on paper, you're not broke, you're paying all your bills. Your credit score is probably pretty good because you're making minimum payments on time. But you don't have $400 in savings. You don't have $300 in savings. You probably have about $87 in your checking account, and you're just hoping nothing goes wrong until next payday. And here's what most people don't realize: this isn't a budgeting problem. I mean, sure, maybe you could cut back on some things. Maybe you could meal prep more. Maybe you could cancel a streaming service. But the fundamental issue isn't that you're being irresponsible. The fundamental issue is that the cost of existing as a functioning adult in America has outpaced wage growth by so much that there's no margin for error anymore. In 1985, the median rent took up about 22% of the median income. Today, it's over 30% in most cities, and in places like New York, San Francisco, Miami, we're talking 40–50%. Cars cost more, insurance costs more, healthcare is an absolute nightmare of costs. Student loans didn't used to be a factor for most people. Now the average debt is $37,000. So when your car makes that sound, when you need a $700 repair, you're not scared because you don't have $700 worth of value. You probably have a credit card with way more than that available. You're scared because you know exactly what putting that $700 on a credit card means. It means you're starting a cycle. And once that cycle starts, it's really, really hard to stop. Here's how it typically plays out. You put the $700 repair on your credit card. You tell yourself you're going to pay it off next month. But next month comes and you can't pay off $700 because you don't have $700 extra lying around. So you pay $100, maybe $150 if you're disciplined. But now you're paying interest on the remaining $550. And that interest on the average credit card, that's about 22% APR. So you're paying an extra $10 a month just in interest. Not the principal, just interest, and then something else happens. Because it always does, your insurance goes up. Your cat needs to go to the vet. You need new tires. Another $250 on the card. Now you're at $800, then $1,000, then $1,500. And suddenly you're that person with $4,000 in credit card debt, and you have no idea how it happened because you're not a spender. You're not buying designer clothes or taking vacations. You're literally just existing, and occasionally something breaks. This is the part that makes me frustrated with the way we talk about personal finance in this country. Because we love to make it about personal responsibility. We love to say, well, you should have an emergency fund. And yes, obviously, everyone should have an emergency fund. But telling someone who can't save money to save money is like telling someone who's drowning to just swim harder. It's not helpful advice. It doesn't address the actual problem. The actual problem is that we've created an economy where the baseline cost of participating in society, having a job, having a place to live, having transportation, having healthcare, leaves no room for building wealth for a huge percentage of the population. And I'm not even talking about building wealth. I'm talking about having $400 in savings. That's not wealth, that's barely security. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Max, this is depressing. What do I actually do about this? And that's fair. Because awareness without action is just anxiety. So let's talk about what you can actually control here. First, understand that if you're in this situation, you're not broken, you're not bad with money. You're operating in a system that's designed to keep you on a tightrope. The credit card companies know this. The car financing companies know this. The landlords know this. They're all counting on you having to choose between paying them and saving for yourself. And spoiler alert, you're always going to choose to pay them because the alternative is getting evicted or having your car repossessed. Second, you need to break the cycle, and the only way to break the cycle is to create space. And creating space means making some uncomfortable decisions in the short term. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you're paying $350 a month for a car. That car is probably worth about $20,000. You owe maybe $15,000 on it. Here's the move that nobody wants to hear, but that actually works. Sell that car, buy a $5,000 reliable used car in cash. A Honda Civic, a Toyota Corolla, something with a reputation for not breaking down. Yes, it's not as nice. Yes, it's older. But you just freed up $350 a month. Take that $350 and do this. Put $200 of it into a high-yield savings account that you pretend doesn't exist. That's your emergency fund. In 6 months, you'll have $1,200. In a year, you'll have $2,400. That's enough to cover the next car repair without touching a credit card. The other $150, use it to aggressively pay down any credit card debt you have. If you don't have credit card debt, add it to savings. In 2 years, you'll have almost $6,000 saved and you'll have completely changed your financial position. But Max, I need a reliable car for work. I hear you. That's why I said a reliable used car. A 10-year-old Civic with 100,000 miles isn't unreliable. It's actually probably more reliable than a 3-year-old luxury car that costs twice as much to fix. The difference is status, and I'm going to say something that might sting. Your status isn't worth being one car repair away from financial crisis. Third, you have to audit the recurring expenses that feel small but add up to real money. Here's a fun exercise. Go through your bank statements for the last 3 months. Add up every single subscription service, every monthly charge, every recurring payment that isn't a bill you legally have to pay. Netflix, Spotify, the gym membership you haven't used in for months, the meal kit service, the app subscriptions you forgot about. For most people, this adds up to somewhere between $100 and $200 a month. That's $1,200 to $2,400 a year. That's multiple car repairs worth of money just evaporating into services you barely use. Cut half of them. You don't need 7 streaming services, pick 2. Share passwords with friends if you have to. Cancel the gym membership and do bodyweight workouts at home for 6 months while you build your emergency fund. Yes, it's less convenient, but you know what's really inconvenient? Not being able to afford a car repair. Fourth, and this is the psychological part that most people miss, you need to reframe how you think about money that's in your checking account. Most people see their checking account balance and think, that's how much money I have. Wrong. That's how much money is currently in your possession before it needs to go somewhere else. If you get paid on Friday and you have $1,800 in your checking account, but you have $1,400 in bills due before the next paycheck, you don't have $1,800. You have $400, and even that $400 is probably spoken for. This mental shift is crucial because it stops you from making the classic mistake of seeing money and spending money just because it's there. The reason you don't have savings isn't because you don't make enough, although that's part of it. It's because your brain doesn't distinguish between money that's yours to keep and money that's just passing through your account on its way to someone else. Here's what I want you to do. Next time you get paid, before you do anything else, move money to savings first, even if it's $25. Even if it's $10, doesn't matter. The point is to train your brain that some money is off limits. It's not part of your spending calculation. And yes, I know, I just told you that most people are already spending more than they make. So where does this money come from? From the subscriptions you just canceled. From making coffee at home instead of buying it. From the 100 small decisions that feel insignificant but add up to real money over time. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that making coffee at home is going to make you rich. It's not. The latte factor is mostly nonsense. But what it can do is create enough breathing room to start building a buffer. And once you have a buffer, Once you have that first $500 or $1,000 in savings, the psychology changes completely. You stop living in constant fight-or-flight mode. You stop checking your bank account with anxiety before every purchase. You start making better decisions because you're not desperate. Here's the truth that the personal finance industry doesn't want to talk about. The reason so many Americans are scared of a car repair isn't because they're financially illiterate. It's not because they don't understand compound interest or because they haven't read the right books. It's because they're living in an economy that's fundamentally broken for the middle class. An economy where productivity has gone up, corporate profits have skyrocketed, and wages have barely budged in real terms for 40 years. But here's the other truth. You can't wait for the economy to fix itself. You can't wait for wages to catch up with costs. You can't wait for housing to become affordable again, or for healthcare to make sense, or for student loans to be forgiven. You have to operate in the reality that exists right now, today. And in that reality, the only way to stop being scared of a car repair is to have money set aside for a car repair. So let me leave you with this. 6 months from now, you're going to hear that sound again. Something's going to break. Your car, your phone, your laptop, something, it always does. The question is, when that happens, are you going to feel that same stomach-dropping panic? Or are you going to feel annoyed, but okay because you have $1,000 set aside specifically for this kind of thing? The choice is yours. But you have to make it today, not next month. Not after you get that raise, not after you pay off that one credit card today. Because 6 months from now, when your car makes that sound, you're either going to thank yourself or you're going to wish you had started today. If this video helped you see your finances differently, do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you're serious about getting off this financial tightrope, subscribe to the channel because we're going to keep breaking down the money stuff that actually matters. Not the theoretical wealth-building strategies for people who already have money. The real, practical, here single quotes s dash, how dash to dash survive dash and dash eventually dash thrive advice for people who are starting from scratch. You've got this. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require some uncomfortable short-term sacrifices. But the alternative is spending the rest of your life scared of a car repair, and you deserve better than that.